Hello, Marketplace. Forgive me, I am a few minutes behind, and it was a minor technology glitch, and I had to get my Wi-Fi back up and reset. So I am Sarah Campbell with Intrigue Design and Intrigue Teaches. If you don't know me already, I spend most of my time sharing over on Instagram. My Instagram is intrigue_designs. And then you can also catch me here on Facebook in the Intrigue Teaches wedding community. What my focus is sharing floral design and some really great techniques and strategies that I've used to help build my business within the luxury wedding world. So I'm here to talk to you today on Lorna's request, and I put a lot of thought into what I want to share with you. And I really want to tell everyone here what my story is, because my story really started with a time of struggle and a financial struggle in a world where I just didn't understand what the next steps were going to be for me to make it through. So in this time, we're all struggling right now with this COVID-19, the quarantines, the cancellations, the delays, the reschedules. Everyone's on the same page. We're all in the same challenge. And part of me, I'm sitting here in my living room, which has become my office, and I'm thinking, how are we ever going to break from this? How are we going to move on? How are we going to recover from this? That was part of the reason we put this recovery project together. But as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about what I can share to help anyone who's just feeling like, oh my gosh, I just need to give up right now. I want to take you back to my very, very early beginnings. I'm a little hesitant, so if you hear some quivering in my voice, I'm a little hesitant to share my story because it's just something publicly I just don't really talk about. But right now, I think it's important that everyone know that you can rebuild from struggles. So I'm stalling, if you can't tell. I'm definitely stalling. If you guys have questions, feel free to post them. Lauren, I think you're here. Could you just post a link, if you don't mind, to my Instagram page so everyone can follow there if they want? And as well, I think I put a link to the COVID-19 recovery program for florists. And planners, you're welcome to use that as well. But if you could put a link to that in the comments, that would be awesome, just so everyone has it. All right, so again, I'm stalling because it is hard for me to tell this story. To really tell this, I want to take you back to the year 1996. I was in high school. That's how far back I need to start with the story. In my senior year of high school, I dropped out of high school. I'm not going to get into all the reasons behind it. My parents were getting divorced, threw me in the middle. It was just a bad situation. I dropped out of high school and I fled as far south as I could get to, landed in Key West, Florida. There's a fly in my house. I landed in Key West, Florida, and I had no idea what I was going to do. I had $700, which at 17 or 18, I don't remember exactly how old I was, $700 might have been $1 million. I felt like I had a lot of money. The first week I was there, I lost my wallet with my $700. And that kind of beginning struggle continued to take hold of my life for the next few years. I was in Key West for about a year. I ended up coming home from Key West, pregnant with my daughter Skylar, and ended up at 19, I found myself as a single mom on welfare, living in, I don't know if it was subsidized housing or housing that the government gave me extra money so I could live. And I remember just feeling like there was I had destroyed my life. I had no financial, this is so hard for me to tell. I had no future in my mind that I could see. And I spent a couple years kind of dwelling in that world that I was just never going to do anything, never going to be anything. I had no direction at all. And then one day, and I don't know exactly what happened here, but one day I had had enough of being nothing and doing nothing and having everyone look at me with pity. And that day I set goals. And I set goals that in my head were so lofty that I would never be able to reach them. I think I was 21 at the time when it finally snapped out of it. So that was 2.5 to 3 years that I dwelled in this like nothing world. And then when I set these goals, I set them very simply. I did write them down, which everyone tells you with goal setting is really, really important to write your goals down. And I'm going to share with you what they were. They, now looking back, were simple, but then they felt like they were the biggest goals in the world. All right, so my goals were, I wanted to have a business. I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to be married to someone who was head over heels in love with me. I wanted to own a home. I wanted, hold on, I'm forgetting one. Oh, I don't remember one. I'm missing one here. I wanted the white picket fence. Oh yes, I remember the other one. I wanted to retire at 35 years old because when you are 21 years old, 35 sounds really, really old. So anyway, let's fast forward then to the year where I'm 35 years old. And I'm looking back at these goals that I've set. And I realized that I had hit every single one of these goals with a couple caveats. I'm sorry, my phone's blowing up. I did marry a man who was head over heels in love with me. If you follow me now, you know that I'm married to Mr. Kenneth Campbell. And it is just, we have been together now for we've been together 19 years. I started not only one, but two businesses. I started as an event planner and then moved on to Floral, which is what I'm known for now. I did buy a home, and I love my home. I did not, Lorna, yes, I did marry my dream spouse. I did not get a white picket fence, but only because I didn't want a white picket fence anymore. It wasn't because I couldn't have a white picket fence. And then retiring at 35, well, I'm a hustler, and that just wasn't going to happen. So, but anyway, I got to the age of 35, and I'd hit these goals, and I'm like, okay, these are the things that I was planning to do. Now what? And I again went into this time where I'm just like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Without goals, I just don't know. It took me another 2 years before I created goals again. So anyway, so that was a kind of very brief view of kind of what that story was. And I didn't give you all the behind the scenes and everything that happened, but I just wanted to share with you that things can seem challenging and things can seem bleak. And if you just keep working and you have that goal in mind, you almost don't realize that things are happening. I cannot tell you during my 20s when I was working so hard and had not only my daughter, but then I got married and I had another son. And I cannot even tell you one time where I felt like things were working and things were happening. It was just moving from one step to another and I was getting closer to my goals. That's not what happened at all. It just all of a sudden, I realized that I'd hit those goals that I had made at such an early age. Hey, Connie. All right, so now I want to talk to you a little bit. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to answer. That was the kind of choked up hard thing for me to share, and I'm not well rehearsed in sharing that story whatsoever. I want to share with you how I moved on from how I started my wedding planning business and how I took my wedding planning business into my floral design business, which again is where I thrive. So the wedding planning business started was because I was working. Now, I had gotten off welfare and I had gotten a full-time job. And in fact, I would have a full-time job for about 6 months to a year. I would do really well in that job. I would get bored and I would move on to another job. I was more than bored too. I was also looking to make really good money. I wanted to have a great life for my family. And financially, it just wasn't cutting it. And when you're a high school dropout, I don't know if any of you have been in this situation, but not having a college education and being a young person, there is very minimal job opportunities. You know, it was just basic job opportunities. I am well-spoken and I dress up well, so I can usually get a job, and I can keep the job because I have a personality that connects. But it does not get you to the financial world without having that college background. So I realized I needed my own business. And the business that first kind of caught my attention, Lorna asked, "Do you still enjoy event design?" Oh, most definitely I still enjoy event design. Hi Jillian. The business that caught my attention was event planning. And I tried to get a job working for an event planner. I felt like that was going to be the best way that I could get experience working in the wedding world and the event world. And this was years ago. This was before Facebook, before social media. And I found that I could not get an event planner to hire me to save my life. I was literally begging and pleading, offering to work for free, and I couldn't get anyone to teach me, or anyone to take me under their wing. So one day I decided, well, if nobody's going to let me work for them, I'm just going to start my own business. And, oh gosh, I'm going to read these questions in a minute, I promise. So I said, I'm going to start my own business. And I just decided on a whim, okay, I'm going to start an event planning company, a wedding planning company. And I figured I could figure out how to throw a pretty party, right? Guys, event planning, much more detailed than I ever imagined. I thought it was going to be so easy. I'm sure there's lots of you that thought when you got into this world, this was going to be a piece of cake. It was really hard. In fact, the first few clients that I worked with, they were just wonderful to deal with. It was wonderful for me to learn on. They were all so happy with the job that I did. And I gotta tell you, excuse me, I was not very good at all. In fact, I kind of joke sometimes that I should find these clients and I should give them their $400 back, because that's what I was charging, $400, not for even day up, for like full planning. I was charging $400. Excuse me. And yeah, so I definitely felt like I should just give them their money back, but they were happy, so I guess maybe I should leave that alone. And I consider that for those first couple of years, like that was my education, learning how to be a good wedding planner, a good event designer, a good event planner. And then it came to another stage in my business where I realized that I love the design part. You know, Lauren asked me, do you still love event design? I love the overall beautiful concept of the party. I actually don't like the planning part at all. In fact, I didn't care, and I don't even know if I still care what they're eating, who shows up on time, what the schedule is. I just want to know that the ballroom looks amazing with flowers hanging from the ceiling and beautiful linens that puddle on the ground and chairs that no one else has. Are we not all just amazed by the chair options now? So there came to this point where I was kind of looking for something, another way to be able to focus just on my design. And then I ran into a situation that put me in a tight spot, and tight spots make us think really well. It's part of the reason where I feel like, as uncomfortable as we are with this COVID-19 pandemic, on a business side, it's pushing us all kind of into a corner. And I don't know about you, but if you back me into a corner, I fight. And when you fight for your business, you come up with some really creative ways to get yourself into a new direction. So let me take you back. Actually, before I tell the story, let me see if these other questions I can answer. And I want to get into this other story because I think it's really helpful for those of you that are in planning and kind of thinking on the floral end or adding florals. Let's see. I know I saw some questions here that I totally skipped over. Cowley, I don't know if I pronounced it right. How do you define your style? Ooh, I define my style abundant. So I like a lot. If 3 flowers are pretty, 300 flowers are amazing. I just like a lot. I like abundance. I like things to look lush and full. And you can go in any kind of design style with that lush and full, but that's what I want, that fullness. Lisa says, I love to make floral arrangements, but I feel I spend way too much money on faux flowers. How do you learn to put arrangements together without spending so much? Is there a class? There definitely are classes. Online we have, if you go to intrigueteaches.com, we have so many. There's over $10,000. In fact, there might be even closer to $15,000 right now of floral classes, online classes. I don't have anything for faux. I do design with faux flowers sometimes, but I actually don't have any classes on that. I do spend quite a bit of money on flowers. In fact, even when you're learning flowers, my recommendation to everyone is to, when you go to the grocery store, you know you need milk, you know you need eggs, you know you need chicken, you know you need whatever else, but you need a bunch or two of flowers. And every week, if you're wanting to get into floral design, every week you should make that priority is to buy flowers and design with those flowers. All right, forgive me, I'm working from home, so I think my husband and my son are on their way in right now. All right, another question. Lorna asked, do you think it is okay for event designers to do floral work, or do you feel we all have lanes that we should operate in? Oh, that is a great question, Lorna. That's my husband going upstairs. I do feel like that whole statement, stay in your lane, there is power to that. When you stay in your lane, you focus on one thing, you will succeed best focusing in your area of expertise. However, I am not a stay in my lane kind of person. It's just not the way I was built to drive, right? So I think if you are going to be running both an event planning company and a floral design company, it's really important that you make sure that you have some kind of separation there, and it's not physically and emotionally and mentally you running both sides. We have one person that's running floral and one person that's running planning, and then those teams subsequently under them. I think it is a little bit of a conflict when you want to work with other planners. So there are lots of planners out there that they are not going to send you business if you are doing floral. And on the flip side, there are lots of florists who are not going to send you planning business if you are doing floral as well. Does that make sense? We all know we don't want to send our business somewhere that it could get taken away. Even if we are feeling that true sense of community over competition, that only goes so far, my friends. I love to give and I love having community, but I'm not going to send my business to someone who does the same thing as me. So I do think there's a conflict there. Kali asked, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Are your designs fully tailor-made, or do you customize existing designs for your clients to taste? So a lot of my clients ask for very similar things. You know, I'm known for the big, tall centerpieces that just kind of crescent on the sides. Many of my clients, they're looking for that style. So I have already pre-made recipes in my floral software, and all I do is kind of switch out some of the flowers, switch out some of the colors to coordinate with my clients. And then I have other events that are fully custom. The client doesn't want anything that they have seen before or we've done before. So it really is a mix of both. And as a designer, I always like to push myself to design something new and different. But as a businesswoman, I know that you often are more profitable when you are doing production of designs you've already created, because you've already figured out the variables there, and you're able to keep your cost of goods more confined. Caitlin says, I just recently realized that I love making floral arrangements. I love that. I love it too. Like right now, the the lines, not the lines, the shipping lines for flowers really got held up with everything going on in the country. So I had flowers shipped to me before they kind of seized up, and I'm very happy to have flowers. And every time I go to the grocery store, I also come home with more flowers. All right. I have found, this is from Caitlin, I have found that if you go to your local supermarket or if you have a local flower place, use the ones they have on sale. Yeah, that's great. All right, the website again, intrigueteaches.com. Thank you, Lorna. And Carly again. Hey, I love your questions. You do not have to ask the last question. These are great. Do you do all day of designs? Do you do all day of designs? Can you help me clarify on that? Do I do all my designs on the day of the wedding? Absolutely not, if that's your question. Flowers come in on Tuesdays. They get processed and prepped on Tuesdays. Hard goods get done on Tuesdays. Then on Wednesdays, the design starts. Yay, Jillian's one of our apprentices. Yay, I'm glad you're enjoying the program. We have even more stuff coming in, which is fun. So Wednesday we design, Thursday we design, Friday we design, Saturday we install. And if you're doing a smaller wedding, you could always start designing on Thursday, but I do very little on site, and only if I absolutely have to do it, I do it on site. All right, Deirdre asked, what advice do you have for someone who is just starting their floral business? All right, this is a challenging time to just be starting your floral business, but this is the time that we are in. So my best advice is learn and practice as much as you can. Get to workshops, get to classes, get your hands on those flowers so you can really start to understand your craft. And I understand that right now that's just not, you can't attend classes and workshops. But there are lots of online classes. Again, look at the online classes we have. Some of the classes are really inexpensive, like $15, $30. And then some of the classes are more advanced. I think our most advanced class on there is $1,200. But there are lots of lower price classes. You can take them at one at a time. You want to just learn a bouquet class. You want to just do a centerpiece. Or you can do the apprentice program and get everything. In fact, the apprentice program is only $800 right now because we did a rollback just because everyone's confined to home. Oh, thank you. Alicia just said thank you for being a speaker today. All right, let's see. Morning from California. Lorna says, I am not a stay in her lane type of girl, but you are correct. It is difficult to do both. It definitely is. Deirdre, what advice do you have for someone who is just starting in floral design, is trying to get their first client? Oh, your first client. So honestly, my first clients were friends and family. And there's kind of this gray area when I talk about this kind of getting that first non-friend client. I took out an ad in a local magazine. I believe it was Perfect Wedding Guide. You probably have it in your area. And they offered a leads list, and I do some teaching on how to work this leads list, but that was really where I got some of my very first clients, was from using and working a leads list. And with that leads list, you actually get all the information as to when the couple's getting married, location, if they have budget, all of that. And I did a series of emails, and then I actually use a postcard system. And we have discussion right now about going back to postcards right now to connect with clients, because the media right now, social media, is getting just overrun with people while everyone's at home. I feel like postcards might get me the clients I want right now. So that's my best advice there. Don't be afraid to advertise. All right, Melissa says, I get overwhelmed when designing an arrangement because I want to be perfect. Any advice? No, Melissa, it always happens. I get overwhelmed. In fact, yesterday I did a bridal bouquet in a pocket square for a client whose wedding was supposed to be in Dallas and decided just to have a wedding at home right here in Washington, D.C. And I obsessed over this bouquet, so it still happens. So if you feel like it's taking you too long and you're just overly thinking about the design, my best recommendation is just to walk away from it, come back a couple hours later. Another good recommendation sometimes is take a picture and send it to a friend and get their reaction, because sometimes that little like, oh, that's so pretty, that's what I need to help me step away. All right. Lorna asked, tell me how paranoid I was during my first design course. You truly helped me to learn how to build a proper foundation and how to shake my fear of floral. Oh, yay! Lorna, I will never forget you in that class. You stood out. You have such this like energy to you, this momentum. I think about you all the time. You are building your business and you're taking all the right steps. I'm watching your marketing, you're moving. I am so impressed by you. I'm sure everyone here is impressed by you and knows what it is you've been up to, but you are really going to, once you hit that stride, and I feel like you're moving towards it, you are just going to skyrocket in your business. All right, Jennifer, what flowers do you use most? Hydrangeas, roses, or ranunculus? Well, I love ranunculus. I cannot remember a wedding that I haven't used ranunculus in. Even when I do tropicals, I pull some ranunculus in. It's one of my go-to flowers. Hydrangeas and roses are definitely a go-to because I like abundance and big and large. I find that when I work with hydrangeas and roses, I'm able to get that big, powerful impact. Another flower I use a lot is peony. I use it all summer long. I use a little bit in the winter. It's really expensive in the winter time, but peony is definitely a go-to. You see in a lot of my work. Working on your craft. I love that. All right, Caitlin, do you believe that it's better to offer a design for free versus a discount, especially when it comes to friends and family? Ooh. Okay, I love my friends and family. It is really hard to work with friends and family, even when you're giving a discount, because what we do is expensive. Flowers are expensive. And there just isn't that understanding. You know, I was talking to someone today and I said, I actually only now will work with my friends and family if they order from our sister company, Pops of Plum. If anyone wants to take a look, it's popsofplum.com. And that website is set up so you can order everything online. And I will work with friends and family in that aspect because they can see the price, they can order it, and they know what they're getting. I find that if I'm doing something even for free for family, then they expect me to do this big, over-the-top, something that was meant for an African queen or the goddess of Russia or whoever it may be. And those are two randoms. But they just, my friends and family think that I can do all of this for a little bit of money, and they don't understand the value of what I'm giving them, or they're disappointed by what I give them because it didn't match their expectation. Quite frankly, I can't afford myself. My clients can afford me, but I can't afford myself. And my friends and family, they really can't afford me. So that is hard. Now, doing things at a discount, I think it's always nice. Friends and family, it is nice to give them a discount. But again, it's just hard because they don't understand what the cost is. And every time I have actually priced a real large-scale event for a friend or family, it usually ends up that there's animosity and they feel like I'm taking advantage of them and I'm price gouging them. And I'm looking at them like, are you kidding me? I'm doing this for nothing. I'm actually not going to get paid or make any money to design your wedding. So anyway, that's my best advice there. So, all right, let's see, more questions. All right, Sharon said, any idea how I can take just a beginner type course to be able to fix bouquets and or corsages if they start to fall apart because of shoddy workmanship? These aren't my florists, by the way. Well, I think that's great. I think every florist or every planner should know the basics of bouquets, corsages, boutonnieres. I will tell you, you take the beginner class, you are going to be so hooked that you're going to make it part of your business. So I believe some of the community colleges have them. In 2018, we did a tour all across the country, and I think it was the last tour stop where I met you, Lorna, where we taught bouquets, boutonnieres, centerpieces. That was a great class. I've kind of started talking about maybe doing that again and taking that same class on the road because it was a really, really popular class. Other than that, online is going to be your best bet. Again, at Intrigue Teaches, we've got tons of this stuff. I was not here to do a commercial about Intrigue Teaches. So I apologize, Lorna. That was not my intent. All right. Sharon asks, where did you get the leads list? I got my leads list from the Perfect Wedding Guide. Check with your other local wedding magazines. Many of them have leads lists that they will sell you. Many times it's they sell you in conjunction with a print ad or an online ad. But whatever it is, pay what you need to do to get the leads list, because that is gold right there. Narisha Johnson, hopefully I pronounced that right too. What is your price points for your florals, and do you do artificial silk flowers? I actually do work with silks and artificials. I price them the same way as I price my fresh flowers. My markups are the cost of the flowers, times 3, the cost of hard goods times 2, and then I take all of that to get my price, and then I add anywhere from 15% to 40% for labor, delivery, install, strike, flip, whatever it may be. All right. Yes, I did pick for a friend. Yes. Oh, it looks like a Canada house. Oh, Jillian, I can't seem to keep my hydrangeas alive. All right, there are videos on how to do this. All right, so I get the question about hydrangeas all the time. First, if you are in the South and it's really hot, if you can get your clients to use antique hydrangea instead of white hydrangea, that's helpful, because antique hydrangea dries in place instead of wilts. But how to keep my white hydrangea in good shape? That is a great question right there. So first, it has to do with how you process a hydrangea when it comes in. The hydrangea needs to be cut at an angle. It needs to be hydrated properly in hydration solution and water. It then needs to make sure it's being placed in properly soaked foam. And that's where I find most people have the challenge, is that the foam, they do not allow it to saturate the way it should. So for that foam, you should have your basin of water, and you just gently put the foam on top of the water and do not touch it. Just let it soak and go down. Don't touch it until it's completely under the water. It'll kind of bobble, but you'll see the top will be like kind of like this, right above the water. And then you can take it out and use it. That means it's soaked all the way through. When you push it down, you get these air pockets in the middle. If your hydrangea hits an air pocket, then you're out of luck and it's going to die. So that's really how you keep those hydrangeas alive. If you're doing all this and you're consistently having a hard time keeping those hydrangeas alive, check with your wholesaler to see what the age is on the hydrangeas. It could be that you got some old product, and that does happen. I don't think that is what usually happens, but it does happen. All right. Dee said, any tips on how to get the confidence to create huge arrangements and ceiling installations? Gosh, that first, my recommendation is, as a business owner, you need to sell these things, right? So I recommend that you sell these pieces and then you learn to design them. Or you can just come to a workshop. We do the installation workshops, and you can learn to design them during one of our workshops. But honestly, it is scary. I'm still scared when I do installations. So you just have to kind of power through, present the design, present it with excitement, and then once it's sold, figure out how the heck you're going to complete it. And there are a series of workshops and classes you can take. We don't teach any of the installations online, but you can get to some of our in-person classes, and we physically do that. We put the installations on the ceiling. We put the installations on the wall. We put the installations on the ground. Wherever an installation can be put, we put it there. All right. So true. Family always feels the decor is cheap when you do stuff for them. They absolutely do. I love my family, but yeah, we're not on the same page when it comes to decor. Oh. We do lots and lots of classes, Lisa. You can look at our schedule over at intrigueteaches.com. It's got all the schedules. Shamir, did my son come down and peek? He often does just show up in my lives. Camden, you're welcome to come down. Everyone knows I'm working from home. Jillian says, I took a mini class in Maine last October. It was amazing. Jillian, were you with us in Maine at Mofield? That was such an unexpected gift of a class. We're going to be back there in August. That was a great class, actually. In August, there's 3 other designers joining me. All right, let's see. We go through. Candace said she also submerges hydrangea underwater when I first get them. Yes, I do know that sometimes that can work. It really does depend on the hydrangea, so be careful. There are some hydrangeas, when you submerge them, they then get waterlogged and they then will just rot from the inside. So just be really, really careful when you are doing that you're not getting them oversaturated. Oh gosh, Narisha Johnson, you stated cost of florals times 3, and I missed the rest. Yes, I can repeat that. All right. So I take the cost of the flowers. So flowers cost me $100. I mark that up times 3. So $100 becomes $300, right? I don't do math in my head, so hopefully I'm telling you this right. So the cost of flowers times 3. 100 becomes 300. The cost of the hard goods and supplies, so let's call that 100 as well to keep it easy. So times 2. So that would be 100 times 2. That would give me 200. So I have 300 and I have 200, and I put those together and that's my price. And then I add on for labor, for installation, for delivery, for strikes, for flips, for all those things that go in the inner workings of the event. So the final price is going to be what the cost of the piece was, that 3 times markup, the 2 times markup, plus tax, of course, you can't forget tax, and it's going to be different no matter where you are. And then it's going to be what that final number is for all the labor and the install and all of that. Hopefully that helped. All right, Anne says, thank you. I've been following you for 2 years now, and your job is amazing. Would it be a technique to use floral food? Would it be? I use flower food all the time. I know there's a lot of people who don't use it. I believe in it. I use Kreisel. I use Oasis flower food. I feel like having flower food is really important to the longevity of your flowers, especially when I get them in on Tuesdays. If you're getting your flowers in on Thursdays, you may not need it so much. All right. Melissa says, hard goods times 2. Oh, thank you very much for writing that out, Melissa. All right. D. Is it the team effort that helped towards the confidence to do big installations? Team effort. A team effort is definitely helpful. You have to have a team. You cannot roll in and do these installations on your own. However many people you think it's going to take you to do these installations, double if not triple the amount of hands you have there to do these. They're part of the reason installations are so expensive is because of the labor that goes into doing them. All right. Oh, so good. Those are some great questions. And Caitlin says she's reaching out to do a project. I'm excited. D, I plan to travel to the U.S. for a class one day, unless you visit the U.K. before then. Oh, D, I would love to be in the U.K. I actually spent the fall in the U.K. The summer and fall. I was there from July to October working on a really exciting project. And I'm hoping I'll be able to share my project with all of you in the next 30 days or so. I'm really excited. All right, so we get one more question, and then I just want to share with you how I merged from, how I went from planning into floral, because I think it's a really helpful and interesting story. Deirdre said, how do you find people to help? There's my son, or is it my husband? Sometimes I cannot tell. My son is so big now. So how do I find people to help? So a lot of times right now, I'll pull from the Intrigue Teaches wedding community. And the Intrigue, it's a Facebook community. We've got lots of designers in there. I also pull from designers that have done workshops and classes with me, and I've seen how much tenacity they have. But I understand, Deirdre, you are not in the place to do that right now. So that's where I find those people right now. In the beginning, I would put ads up at my local wholesaler. I also would put ads, this sounds so ridiculous, ads looking for help at some of the local churches and as well as the colleges, because I found that people I worked really well with were those kind of Sunday school teachers, and those stay-at-home moms were also really great for production during the week. And then I felt like my college kids were really great for installation. And then many times I also had some of those people that would work with me during the week on the installation. So churches and colleges are really your best bet. Finding experienced staff is really challenging. I find even those of you that have been to the installation workshops with me, we go through some really basic techniques, and I share with everyone that everything I do is simple. It just requires a lot of people to produce it. And the reason I created all these strategies that were so simple and easy to follow is because sometimes people don't show up, or I'm having to pull in people last minute that have never touched flowers before. And I need to make sure that in the course of an hour, I can get everyone on my team, even if they've never touched a flower, to understand what you need to do. Like if I've got a flower wall that's 40 feet long, that is a long flower wall. And I'm going to have dozens of people just cutting and poking, cutting and poking, cutting and poking. I don't need qualified professionals to do this. I just need people that will work. All right, Stacy said, are you going to consider online courses? We teach lots of online courses over at Intrigue Teaches. Again, it's intrigueteaches.com. Tons and tons of courses there. I do not teach courses for the installations, just because I find it much more effective to do them in person than I do on video for the large scale pieces. But all the other pieces are there. All right, and Stacy says, I live in Trinidad in the Caribbean. I follow you on Instagram. Oh, yay! Stacy, did you see I was what is the Trinidad music? I can't remember the name of it, but it's some of my favorite music. My son's hilarious. I love him too. All right, I'm going to jump in, and I don't know how much longer I have. I think I'm almost at my end time. I'm going to try to tell you the story as quickly as I can. Hey, Bonnie. All right, so I was a wedding planner, and I had started to want to get more control over the decor element of my weddings, the design. And I found that in my area in particular, I just had a really hard time finding designers and florists that really could get in my head. And then I found this great freelancer, and she agreed to design the flowers for my wedding. So I came up with the concepts. I sold them to the client. She would then give me a price, and my client would pay her. So I wasn't the florist. I was just kind of the middleman at that point. And this was working really well. I knew she was a little nervous, and I knew she didn't want to deal with brides, but I still felt like this was good for my business. Well, then, in hindsight, I should have seen the writing on the wall. I should have known this was going to happen. Anyway, so I think it was November, and I get a call from her on Friday night. No, it was Thursday night I get a call from her, and she is freaking out. She's too stressed. She can't handle weddings. She can't look at the flowers, doesn't want to deal with the flowers. And as a planner, I'm sure all of you can feel this. As a planner, you get into this mode. You're like, okay, how do I fix this? How do I make this better for my client? Because you're not going to tell your client that, that florist I referred you to, yeah, they bailed and they're not designing your flowers. None of us are going to do that. We're going to make this right. So I tried to relax her. I told her, don't worry about it. You don't have to see the client. You don't have to be at the wedding. I'll come pick up the flowers and I'll take care of it. So I knew there was lots of flowers for this wedding. So I unloaded the back of my white Chevrolet Trailblazer, unloaded everything, put the seats down. I had lots of room in this thing. And I live out on the eastern shore of Maryland, so these long, windy roads. And I get up to her farmhouse, and it's set up on a hill. She's got this beautiful, American-style porch, beautiful home. And on the porch is lots and lots of boxes. And the first thing I thought was, oh, thank goodness. It was chilly in November, and I know that flowers don't like to be out in the cold. And I was so grateful that she boxed up all the arrangements so that they didn't get damaged. So I loaded them into my car, barely fit them all into this Trailblazer too. It was stuff. And I get home, and it was cold, but not so cold I feel like I couldn't leave them in the car. And I just decided to not risk it. So I pulled my garage door up and I start loading the boxes into the garage. Once I have everything loaded into the garage, I realized that, oh no, it wasn't I realized, it was, our curiosity gets the best of us. We want to see the beautiful designs. Isn't that the first thing you do when the florist shows up? You want to see the flowers, right? Soca music. Oh, whatever it is, it's the music I like. It's the Trinidad music. So anyway, sorry, sidetracked. So I peek into the box, and I don't understand what I'm looking at. I had actually, at that stage of my career, had never seen wholesale flowers. So there was cellophane and cardboard. The flowers were not even processed. My heart sunk. I had never touched flowers. I'd never designed flowers. I had no idea what I was going to do. I knew I couldn't call this designer back. She was freaking out. So I just did what I thought I should do. I had the floral contract. I had all the items listed. I'd been the one who created the design board, so I knew what everything was supposed to look like. I just didn't know how to do this. But I knew flowers needed water, so I cut everything and put it in water. I think I went and got buckets from Home Depot. And yeah, OMG is right. Like, I was totally freaking out. And I start getting all the flowers into the water. I had a few wedding planning books that had some basic things. And then there was this brand new website at the time. This is how long ago this was. It was called YouTube. And they had a few like DIY, like how to do things on YouTube. So I decided I was going to just look up how to make a centerpiece, look up how to make a bouquet. Guys, my first bouquets, I zip tied them together. I think I zip tied and then I duct taped and then put ribbon over the duct tape. It was, some of the things I did was tragic, but I was learning. So I spent the next 36 hours, I did not sleep, just working on these flowers. My son worked on the flowers with me. My husband worked on the flowers with me. My daughter helped me. We had a dog running around. It was kind of chaos. And it came time for the wedding, and I loaded everything back up into the Trailblazer. I got everything delivered for the wedding, and I avoided that bride like she was anyone during COVID-19, right? You avoided, like, just don't want to be around anyone. Oh, yeah, I was mad. I was mad at the florist, but being mad at somebody does not help solve a situation. Like, it just doesn't. Like, sometimes you just have to understand you're mad, feel the mad for a second, and then move on to fixing it, to resolving the issue yourself. And that's what I did. So I avoided the bride, and it was the end of the night. The story is almost over because I'm down. I think it's 9 more minutes before I get cut off. It was the end of the night, and I see the bride walking towards me. And I'm like, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. You know this feeling, right? So the bride's walking towards me, and she has this older woman on her arm who was not smiling at all. I'm like, I am about to get reamed out. She's so mad. And as soon as she got to me, she lit up in a smile. Which, you know, when your bride gives you that smile, how special and how important that is. She lit up in a smile, and she starts thanking me, how it was the most wonderful, amazing day, and the flowers looked incredible. And so at this point, my soul is starting to feel better. And then she introduces me to her aunt, who just so happened to be the White House florist. And my heart sunk again, because I'm like, oh no, the White House florist just saw this wedding I designed. And what this woman said next has stuck with me my entire career. And it's not the words that stuck with me, but it was a tone she said it and what she said. And essentially, she was complimenting the work that I had done. Now, I don't know if she was just being polite or if it was a genuine compliment, but I don't care, because what that confirmation that I did a good job from someone that I revered, that gave me the confidence to do more flowers. So I ended up being, kind of long story short, is I ended up taking over all the other contracts we had for the rest of the year. The freelancer got to keep all the deposits. I took the weddings and I produced the weddings. It was a bad move financially because I didn't realize how much I needed those deposits in order to to be financially successful that year. But I was able to then design the flowers. I ended up hiring I hired a great designer to come work with me. I stayed at that point I became the face of Intrigue. And I wanted to make sure that I was always the one that clients thought of and went to when it came to anything Intrigue, because I know I won't drop the ball. If I tell a client I'm going to do something, I am going to do it. I'm going to do it with style. So I wanted to make sure that it was always my face that clients interacted with. All right. That was like 2 stories in one, and answering lots of questions. If you guys I have 6 more minutes. I have 6 more minutes before I'm kicked out of Facebook Live. So if anyone has any more questions, feel free to ask. Right now, today on my schedule, I am working on getting accounting set up for the next 6 months to a year. I'm working on my floral software so that I can make sure that any events, workshops, classes I have are all entered into the software. That way, when this whole mess is behind us and we start to get back to life that is our new normal, then I'm going to be ready to just hit the ground running and not have to go back and work on all the stuff I just didn't do. You know, we have plenty of time right now when some of us do. A lot of us in the event world, we aren't doing anything else. So it's good that we're working on our businesses right now. All right, let's see. We got a question here. All right, Melissa Martinez, team for a wedding planner. How many people would you say to hire if needed? Wedding planner team, it really depends on, sorry, I somehow tried to click something off and sent you guys away. All right, for wedding planning team, I liked a minimum team of 4 people, but it really depends on the caliber of wedding that you're working and what your responsibilities are. With the 4 people, I liked 1 person that was overseeing all the deliveries and installs and flowers that were coming in. I liked 1 person that was in charge of the bride and guest questions. I liked 1 person that was in charge of scheduling and making sure that the entire day was running. And then I liked my lead designer to make sure that everybody her entire team was taken care of. So that's kind of how I ran scheduling wise, but there may be some weddings where you need more than 4. I don't remember a time when I had less than 4 people at a wedding. Oh, we love you, Sarah. You just light up people's lives. Thank you, Patience. That made my heart sing. Stacy said, well said. God bless you, Michelle. Oh, thank you. Jillian, thank you. All right, wonderful. Lots of thank yous. I appreciate all of you for enjoying this journey, enjoying the stories. If you have any follow-up questions for the next 24 hours, if you want to send me a DM on Instagram, I'm happy to answer. Instagram is the place that I feel like I live. That's the place I'm the most comfortable. And it is also the place where I get a lot of my inspiration. So, all right. Thank you guys so much. It was so great meeting all of you. And if you have not yet, the link is up there for the COVID-19 Florist Recovery Program. Bye, guys.